Wow, I haven't done a weekend watch in some time, right? Well, to be honest, I had plans. I watched a bunch of stuff to make a video out of it, but then some other stuff happened. And then I made the Shatritre and Loki videos because I was feeling strongly about them, which you can watch by clicking on the links up there somewhere. And then some other shift happened, and then I felt a little lazy. But hey, now I'm here and you are here, so let's talk more about what I've watched and less about, well, everything else. But before I begin, mandatory reminders दे देते हैं. First, sit through the credits. I have to admit that we have come a long way from crediting just the stars to crediting the directors, writers, cinematographers, etc. However, there is a whole army of people in addition to all those guys who deserve some attention. So, for their sake, sit through the credits. If you like their work, go and tag them on social media and let them know. Second, a spoiler alert is in effect. Yes, given the speed at which movies and shows are coming out, there's a fair chance that everyone isn't consuming them at the speed that I am. And this might be the first time that they are hearing about the said movie or show. So I don't want to spoil anything that they want to go into without knowing anything. I keep things spoiler free, but फिर भी भूल चूक से कुछ निकल जाए तो माफ कर देना. Thirdly, but most importantly, like and share this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments about what you thought about the movies and the show that I have talked about in this video. Or if you want to recommend something, please feel free to do so. Or if you just want to talk about anything else that's not even remotely related to entertainment, लिख डालो. I am here to listen to it. Also, just because I care about you all so much, I put timestamps for each of the sections of the video down in the description. So if you want to jump around to a specific part, just click on that timestamp and you will be transported to that exact spot. Alright, let the list commence. Tufan, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Look, I was with the movie for a significant chunk of its runtime despite its cliches because I love Farhan Akhtar's acting and I am a fan of Rakesh Prakash Mehra's films and the songs absolutely slap, and Hussein Dalal is fantastic as this sometimes comedic, sometimes deeply tragic supporting character. But then they fridged Mrunal Thakur's Ananya. The movie behaves like that's not the case and that Aziz is doing it all to redeem himself. But sorry, no, not gonna fly. And you know what? I would have tolerated Tufan if the fridging was its only problem. However, after that happens, the movie's quality dives overall. I mean, what the hell was Darshan Kumar's character doing? He felt like he was from a B grade Bollywood movie from the 80s or something, giving those villainous looks and talking in that maniacal tone. What happened to all that talk about how boxing limits its fights to the ring and once everyone steps out of it, they are best mates? How do you make a film about boxing and then disrespect the sport to shit and expect us to stand behind it? Also, talking about standing behind something just because it has its heart in the right place and it is highlighting the never ending Hindu Muslim divide in the country. Yeah, that's not going to quite work out if the filmmaking and storytelling on display isn't great. Also, after reading an article on the Quint about the handling of Paresh Rawal's Islamophobic character, I'm not sure if Tufan's heart is also in the right place. The Fear Street trilogy, streaming on Netflix. Remember what I was saying about planning? Yeah, so according to my initial plan, I would have posted the reviews for each of the installments during the week of its release. But as you can see, that never happened. However, in retrospect, it turned out to be a good thing because it's a trilogy and it is meant to be seen as one. I mean, as a die-hard horror fan, I really enjoyed each installment on its own. But I've seen some criticism about how they feel like incomplete pieces of a puzzle, and how that feeling of incompletion caused them to dislike not only the trilogy as a whole, but every single installment as well. I don't agree with those criticisms, but I can see where they are coming from. With that out of the way, let me just say that this is hands down one of the best trilogies in film history. Every single installment goes so goddamn hard in, well, every department. The acting, the direction, the score, the cinematography, which I'll say is sometimes a little male gazy, the editing, oh, I love those silent flashes of Sarah Fear, the production design, the costume design, the art direction, the stunt work, the practical effects, the visual effects, everything is just so goddamn perfect. And then all of these installments come together as a whole to talk about how systemic oppression can cause the gradual decay of a town and gaslight the citizens to think that they are the problem and not those who are causing said systemic oppression. And also that straight people are incredibly weird and will rather promote the demonization of the LGBTQ plus community than live an honest life. And that you should never trust the police as a profession because the system is structured in a way to make them support the rich. I mean, don't go killing them, of course. Hold them accountable for their actions because they're supposed to make sure that justice prevails. They aren't above the law. Wow, that got political. Nothing wrong with that. Art is meant to be political. But on a slightly lighter note, please watch these movies so that the right message goes to those who run the show and they greenlight horror movies and shows which have expendable characters whose deaths feel impactful because you start loving them so much while being full to the brim with scares, chills, and gore. A classic horror story, streaming on Netflix. Given the lack of discourse I'm seeing around this movie, I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen it. And please remember that whenever I say that I'm seeing a lack of discourse, I mean that I'm not seeing it appear a certain number of times on my Twitter timeline. I don't have some kind of vast surveillance system to check on what people are talking about because I'm not the Indian government. Good lord, why is this turning into such a political video? Okay, coming to a classic horror story, the only spoiler free way I can describe this is that it's a mix between Wrong Turn, Midsummer, and the Blair Witch Project, which also comments on the whole auteur theory, which enables directors, especially male directors, to inflict actual pain on the artists in order to portray some kind of horror on screen. And how the overall drooling over this process of filmmaking by self-proclaimed cinephiles leads to an overall insensitivity towards actual human pain amongst the general audience. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Stanley Kubrick. And since I felt that that's such a great topic to talk about, especially through the lens of horror, I think that the movie should have dug into it a little bit more, just a little bit more. The movie hinges on its twist a lot, and my opinion about twists is that they shouldn't just be for shock value and should change everything you thought you knew about the movie. Initially, I thought that the twist was shocking for the sake of being shocking. However, when I sat with it just for a minute or two, it made me look at everything from the unmotivated lighting, the set design, the practical effects, the camera work, and the acting, especially the acting. Because that twist changes a lot of the characters' motivations significantly. Also, Matilda Lutz is so goddamn awesome. Please put her in more horror movies. And go watch Revenge, which is another movie featuring her after watching this movie. It's also on Netflix. Malik, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. There are conflicting reports on whether Malik is inspired by the Bhimapalli violence, where several Muslims were killed by the Kerala police under the garb of solving a communal issue. And I saw a tweet somewhere stating that the power dynamics in the movie have been kind of misrepresented. So it's tough for me to comment on the authenticity of the story itself. If I keep that aside and see Malik in somewhat of a vacuum, because it's impossible to view anything in a complete vacuum, I couldn't exactly figure out what the movie is trying to say. It's a terrifically crafted piece of art. Don't get me wrong on that. It tracks this legendary individual from the Muslim community who stood for communal harmony until his dying breath. And he's played by Fahad Fasil. So obviously Ikka is insanely layered and you get to see him evolve into this Don Corleone-esque character. I mean, there's even a scene which echoes the baptism scene from The Godfather, except that here it's a funeral happening. On top of that, it's quite an achievement in terms of production design, cinematography, editing, costume design, makeup design, special effects, stunts, and acting from an ensemble cast. However, there's a saying that all's well when it ends well. And I didn't understand the ending, and hence I didn't like it. The entire movie shows us that violence is bad and how these two families have a history etched in blood. So they should put a stop to it because it doesn't do anyone any good, thereby sending an overall good message about non-violence and how revenge is toxic. But then it ends in violence and revenge and then it is justified by the characters. And no, not just the ending, the violence that sparks the whole shit show too. So yeah, I don't know. If you can skip the last 10 minutes of the movie and go to the credits, then Malik is great. If you watch the ending, not so much. First Cow, streaming on Movie. This is the ultimate no plot, only vibes movie out there right now. Yes, there is a plot and a message about friendship and about greed, and how for this brief moment, the milk from this cow and the craftsmanship of these two friends blur the lines between the upper class and the lower class. But that's not exactly the focus, and I mean that in a good way. The main focus of the movie is to help you chill out. I know what you're thinking. You're saying if you want to chill out, why don't you go out into the hills or something or go out with your friends? To which I will say, that's a good point. But my brain doesn't work that way. In an essay that I had written to get my Kane, Canes accreditation, I had said that the most peaceful place for me is an empty theater with practically any movie playing on the screen because it helps me escape the mundanity of my hometown for a few hours. Now, the theater has been replaced by the laptop screen, however, any form of entertainment still gives me that feeling of peace. Which is a roundabout way of saying that I loved First Cow because it made my brain all sweet and cool. Which is also a roundabout way of saying that please watch this movie. The first 5 episodes of Rick and Morty Season 5 streaming on Netflix. Episode 1 is awesome with Mr. Nimbus being some kind of weird mixture of Aquaman and Namor, and Rick being forced to tackle him without sending him into deep space or something. Meanwhile, Morty is tasked with bringing wine from another planet where time works differently, thereby causing the wine to age quickly. But Morty obviously messes that up royally, and it's just a wildly fun take on fantasy stories like Narnia. Episode 2 is even more insane with decoys of Rick and Morty's family killing other decoys after knowing that they are decoys and then making alternate versions of themselves to survive by creating more decoys. It's mind numbing but it's fun. Also, it reminded how big of a deal it was for Morty to bury one of his alternate versions and how he and the rest of the family have become so desensitized, probably because of Rick's exploits, that they can easily kill various versions of themselves in a single day and not lose their entire minds. Episode 3 imagines a scenario where Captain Planet is a celebrity who does some climate saving activities but is strictly managed by the people who conjure her via their rings. And then it leans into the notion that climate activists are oblivious to the problems of the working class, and although their heart is in the right place, their violent and borderline fascist actions mirror that of the very people they're trying to fight. Oh, and there's some stuff about heartbreak and alien orgies. Don't look at me, I'm just explaining what I saw. Episode 4 is some of the weirdest shit these two eyes of mine have ever seen. And to be honest, this is the kind of weird shit I want from adult animated comedies. Why just limit it to R-rated violence and cartoon characters giving galis? Make sperm monsters, make a giant egg, shoot them into space and let it grow into a space baby. Episode 5 is... I don't really know what episode 5 is about. Yeah, it's the show's take on Hellraiser and maybe Herbie, but the take itself is alright. I don't know, it just didn't connect well enough with me. It's kinetic and has some wild moments, but yeah, overall, okay. Batman The Long Halloween Part 1 streaming on Book My Show Stream. Before watching this, go and say thank you to Book My Show Stream because they're bringing Warner Brothers releases to us. Why is that a big deal? Because Warner Brothers is run by a bunch of idiots who don't know how to cater to the international audience. बट दे धनादन नए मूवीज आइदर वहाँ यूएस का थिएटर में रिलीज कर रहे हैं, नहीं तो HBO Max पे रिलीज कर रहे हैं विच इज लिमिटेड टू द USA, और नहीं तो DVD और ब्लू-रे पे रिलीज करे रहे हैं विच इज, you guessed it, limited to the USA. However, somehow the people behind Book My Show Stream have convinced them to send over their stuff to them so that they can show it us to in India. Thank you बोल लिए हो, and if you can't wait until Robert Pattinson's Batman comes out, तो yes, ये देख लो. It is based on the comic book of the same name and has Supernatural का Jensen Ackles voicing Batman. In this story, the Cape Crusader is after a killer who only murders on holidays. Harvey Dent परेशान, Commissioner Gordon परेशान, even Joker परेशान क्योंकि this holiday killer is taking too much of Batman's attention. And while all this is typical Batman stuff, the thing that struck me the most is how it explores the impact of the responsibilities of Wayne, Dent and Gordon on their loved ones. Harley Quinn, the animated show, does that as well, but not as seriously as this movie does. And since these characters have been around for such a long time and have been deified and mythologized, it's great to see them get deconstructed in this way. In addition to that, the animation and art direction is really good. जिसने Batman the animated series देखा है, they are gonna get very nostalgic. And it emulates that show's noirish, broody atmosphere. But then it spices things up with a lot of modern animation techniques in the character design and action choreography department. It's awesome is what I'm saying. That said, इसका second part निकल रहा है by the end of this month, I suppose. तो watch it as a duology because it is meant to be a duology. नहीं तो फिर फालतू का कंप्लेन करोगे कि इनकम्प्लीट लगा ये वो फलाना ढिमकाना. So if you can wait. If you can't, then watch it. Saras streaming on Amazon Prime Video. I don't know what Saras is about. I watched it from start to finish, but I don't know what it is about. I thought I understood what it is trying to say, but then the last scene happened, and I threw away everything that I thought I had understood about the movie. All I know is that I didn't like it. The acting is good, the songs are good, everything else is also good. Like you can watch it, but the writing is very convoluted. Like they had some idea about unplanned pregnancy and they tried to fit it into a drama about a woman trying to make a movie and then did nothing interesting with it. That's all I have to say about Saras. Asuran streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Why did I watch a 2019 movie in 2021? Because I got to know that they have remade it as Narappa, which we'll come to it in a bit. But before that, I just want to say that Vetrimara, Dhanush, and everyone associated with Asuran deserve a massive round of applause. They deserve it just for deciding to make a movie on caste-based issues during a time when casteism is on the rise in real life. But they especially deserve it for making such a solid movie. There's a lot of plot in Asuran. However, after a point, the details stop mattering and the repercussions of casteism become the central focus of the story. You are taken on this long-winded journey and you are made to sit with these characters so that you can wonder why casteism hasn't been banned and abolished in this country and why casteist people aren't shot into space or something as soon as they open their bigoted mouths. Why are they the ones running the show, defining how laws are supposed to be imposed, what's the meaning of justice, and what's the value of a life? Who are these self-imposed flag bearers of what's right and what's wrong? And as that builds up, you kind of get why rebellion is the only option. I'm sure a lot of centrists and pacifists must have seen this movie and said that if the oppressed take up arms in order to stand up for their rights, then they're just playing into the oppressor's game plan. So what's the alternative? Getting oppressed, getting slapped and offering the other cheek. And do you think the people who rebel do not know what's at stake? Really? They do, and yet they are standing up for what's right because privileged centrists and pacifists like you, who have the reach to stop the oppression, are too weak to do the same. Bitter pill, swallow it. So yeah, Asuran is a perfect movie. I think movies like Asuran should be shown at schools and colleges so that kids don't become casteists. I think incidents such as the Kilvanmani massacre, the real incident Asuran is based on, should be in the school curriculum so that kids don't become casteists. And I think filmmakers and storytellers should watch Asuran and read up on the Kilvanmani massacre and make movies and shows on casteism and classism so that we as a country can put an end to casteism and classism for once and for all. Narappa streaming on Amazon Prime Video. It is a shot-for-shot remake. Kudos to the people involved in it for making such a great story about casteism and classism reach a wider audience maybe, because even though it is a shot-for-shot remake, it takes a lot of time and effort to do it. Apart from that, I have nothing else to say. Vazal streaming on Sony Live India. Vazal is a movie. It is like a truly Indian version of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, but with more violence and existential crisis. There's a lot of stuff in it, and there's a lot of visual and narrative poetry going on. Like the 3 acts are marked by 3 deaths. The protagonist, Prakash, is motivated to go from one act to another by 3 widely different women. The 3 acts have different aspect ratios to mirror Prakash's views on life. Everything from the cinematography, editing, acting, music, songs, direction are dialed up to 11 to make these metaphors really pop. And that's reason enough to go and watch it. But I don't know what exactly it is trying to say. Live your life to the fullest? get away with murder. Money, moh maya hai. Even if you're as interesting as a piece of cardboard, attractive girls are going to throw themselves at you. If you're as interesting as a piece of cardboard, it also means you're gullible as hell. Live some, then do some work, then live some more because a bohemian lifestyle is good for Instagram. But ultimately, you have to bow to your corporate overlords. Like, I don't know what it is trying to say. However, please do watch it and educate me a bit about it in the comments. Ikkat, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Hands down, one of the funniest movies I have seen recently. And before I start harping on about a very specific topic that Ikkat highlights, let me just touch upon all the stuff that I really liked. The acting is fantastic, with Dude Maga being a scene stealer. It is superbly written, the humor is very organic and never forced. It is a brilliant mixture of narrative, visual, and physical comedy. It uses the COVID-19 pandemic as a framework excellently. The imaginary sequences where the characters play out their desires are too good. And the final act showdown is icing cherry, whatever nice sweet thing you want to call it on the proverbial cake. Now, coming to that very specific thing that I want to talk about. Between the Great Indian Kitchen and Ikkat, it has been proven that men do not know how to eat. Generation after generation, they have taught women how to eat. उसके बाद खुद को देखा है कभी? कैसे जानवर जैसे खाते हो? जानवर जैसे खाते हो बोलने से भी जानवर का इंसल्ट होगा. पता नहीं सी कैसे खाते हो यार. And pre-COVID lockdown, everyone used to go their separate ways for various reasons. एक टाइम डिनर के वक्त शायद से एक साथ खाना पड़ता था और जैसे तैसे सह लेते थे. बट नाउ तीनों मील एक साथ बैठ के खाओ और इनकी बेहुदा हरकत देखो. इन द ग्रेट इंडियन किचन व्हेन दे शोड हाउ द मेन डर्टीड द टेबल, लैपटॉप के थ्रू ऐसे खींच के लाफा मारने का मन कर रहा था. And here in Ikkat, when that Uncle Karna comes and slurps and slorps everything and anything he's eating or drinking, फिर से हाथ में ऐसे खुजली हो रहा था. Like, what the hell is your problem? Self-respect, self-awareness, कुछ नहीं है क्या? I'm not telling you how you should or should not eat when you are by yourself. उल्टा होके पैरों से खाओ, for all I care. But when you're with people, then bloody behave. And no, your family doesn't have to tolerate you. Adjusting shouldn't be one-sided and expected from the young only. Being old doesn't give you the right to be disgusting. दिन भर YouTube, WhatsApp और पता नहीं कहाँ का तो वीडियोस देखते रहते हो. सर्च कर लो table manners while you are at it. This pandemic seemingly doesn't have any end, so stop making it more unbearable. Okay, rant over. I hope that didn't detract from the point that I was trying to make, which is that Ikkat is really good and one of my favorite movies of the year. Sarpatta, streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Started with a movie about boxing and ended with a movie about boxing. And it is by design. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to do that, but I did it. So yay. Okay, enough beating around the bush, on with Sarpatta. I'm going to say this upfront that I'm not well versed about the history of the clans that are being presented here in Sarpatta. Going by my cursory knowledge, the movie shows the rivalry between the Sarpatta and Idiapa clans, while also delving into the inter-caste rivalry between various members of the Sarpatta clan. In doing so, it explores how these regressive values detracts people fighting for a common cause from the target and promotes systemic oppression. But Paranjit doesn't pin it all on just that. He also looks at this intersection between generational vices and machismo and what it takes to overcome them. And that's what makes Sarpatta one of the best sports dramas. It plays into the cliches associated with the subgenre and makes them its own. It uses its 3-hour runtime to look at Kabila, who by the way is played to perfection by Arya, track his meteoric rise, follow him through his equally meteoric fall, which is brought about by his professional setback, and then his phoenix-like rise back to the top. And you might say that that's predictable. Well, sucks to be you, because Paranjit doesn't stop there as well. He shows the subtle and not so subtle ways the people around Kabila have committed a heinous crime by piling their insecurities upon him, and that even they need to redeem themselves by the time the movie ends. I mean, the fear in the hearts of Kabila's wife and mother isn't unfounded. He literally proves that they were right about him. But where do you go from that point? You sink or you swim. And it is great to see that Sarpatta shows that you have to reach a middle ground if you want to win against a society or a community that is united in its efforts to oppress you. So you see, since the handling of these themes, the acting, the production design, the costume design, the makeup design, the music, and the cinematography was so amazing that I didn't really mind the over edited boxing scenes. Those two shots of Kabila and his friends talking about the importance of the fight against Rose with an image of B.R. Ambedkar in the background and Kabila emerging out of a crashing wave are enough to make me call Sarpatta a masterclass in filmmaking. Please watch it. Holy shit, that's the list. Didn't I say I've watched a lot of shit? And look, I do want to do individual reviews for them. But take it from someone who has reviewed for publications, unless you get screeners ahead of a movie or a show's release, it's technically impossible to do individual reviews. Those who do it despite not getting screeners, I tip my hat to them. However, I do not want to play that game, stress myself out, mess up my sleep cycle, and then go into hibernation. But hey, enough with the techie wiki talk. Let me know in the comments which of these movies and shows you have watched and what you thought about them. Hit the like or dislike button to let me know if you agree or disagree with my thoughts. Subscribe to the channel and please stay healthy and stay safe.